Spain thrash Germany by 6-0. Stevie Nicol, Craig Burley and Jurgen Klinsmann joining us. Jurgen, it seems we start with a German on the panel. How do you react to that?
Well, it's definitely a very, very tough one to swallow. I mean, 6-0 is unacceptable. It's just not good, and obviously, you know, I mean, I can only imagine what the media will look like tomorrow in Germany. But getting 6 goals against one of the biggest rivals, kind of in world football, is a very tough pill to swallow. I mean, and they could have even scored more. Yeah. Spain, you know, that's the crazy part of all things, you know. So it's obviously it's very, very, very disappointing for Germany. It's a big day for Spain. You know, they can celebrate. They won the group now. Germany only needed a point. They needed only a tie to win that group. But it is obviously it's a big disappointment, and there will be a very, very hectic couple of days coming up in Germany.
We'll talk about Spain, obviously, because to their credit, they were there and they got the goals. But Germany, really, you feel, is the big storyline, Craig. How could they be that bad?
It's hard to put your finger on, because people will talk about, well, 3 or 4 missing players that might have played, but then so did Spain. You know, experienced midfield for Germany that never really got close to the Spanish midfield. Philip Max at left back. I mean, I think it was his second or his third cap, but his positioning in the first half was horrendous, and Spain just clipped balls over the top of him all the time. You know, when you're in an elite country that's expecting to be winning and challenging at every major championship, when you get beat 3 or 4-0, that's a bad day at the office, a real bad day. When you get beat 6-0, and as Jurgen said, it could have been, you know, it could have been double figures. Let's be honest about it. That's an embarrassment. And the way that Spain just were able, as the game went on, just to play through the middle of the park and the middle of the back four was quite incredible. I mean, I've never seen an international team with so many supposed experienced players so dishevelled. I mean, it was quite incredible, and it was like taking candy off a kid for Spain in the end. That's how bad it was.
And there never seemed to be any sort of response from anyone in a German shirt, Stevie.
No, not at all. I mean, there's 2 parts of this team that were horrendous, and I think the obvious one you would say would be the back line, which I'll get to. But in the middle of the park, they got completely outnumbered, and nobody did anything about that. And you know, as experienced as Gundogan and Toni Kroos are, I think you got to put some blame on them for not reacting and bringing other people back in. But I think you also have to look at Joachim Low, because he didn't do anything either, and he actually didn't do anything at half-time to make the middle of the park solid at the very least, to stop them getting at that back line. And I'm watching this game and I'm thinking, who do you blame for this shambles of a defence? Can you really just easily turn around and blame Joachim Low? Because the choices he has are horrendous. Sula, clearly not fit, who I don't rate anyway. You're bringing on Tar, clearly not fit. You know, you've been playing Rudiger, who's not getting a game at Chelsea. You're playing Koch, who at Leeds, his defence has let in more than 2 goals a game in 8 Premier League games. So, you know, where does the blame lie? Defensively, at least, does Jogi just not have any choices, or is he just making bad choices?
Now, the thing is that you've kind of opened the door, Stevie, because let's not forget, March 2019, Jogi Löw made the decision to say, right, that's it, we're moving on. Jerome Boateng, Mats Hummels, thank you very much for your time in the national side, but we feel we need to turn the page and we need to move on. So as much as he didn't have many choices at the back going into today's game, a lot of that was done by him. It was his choice.
Yeah, and it was a choice that was made based on what happened on the internal side of the team, and nobody from the outside can really evaluate that. Nobody can say why this decision was made besides Joachim Löw and his coaching staff. So So then, it started a period of experimenting, in the new back lines, new center backs. Jonathan Tah came in, Rüdiger was on site, but nobody really could step it up in that time frame now, since the other players left the team. And the biggest question mark certainly is still is about leadership. Who is the real leader of that team? Obviously Manuel Neuer is a very quiet, very strong personality and still outstanding goalkeeper. And I said, he still saved the result a little bit today with a couple of amazing saves. But nobody on the field, besides Manuel Neuer as a goalkeeper, stepped it up in the last 2 years, and this is really sad to see. It lacks a leader, it lacks a personality that after the second or the third goal sends out some signals, does something, I don't know, does a foul, interrupts the game, gets in the face of the Spanish players, and that raises the big question about Thomas Müller, because Thomas Müller is a type of a leader. So he's the leader of the pack at Bayern Munich still, because he keeps those young players in line. The Leroy Sané, the Serge Gnabry, they all follow Thomas Müller on the field. And that's why Bayern Munich is unbeaten, I don't know for how long now, in the Champions League. So this is a big problem right now for the German side, just about 6-7 months out before the Euros then start. So it will be a hurricane tomorrow in Germany in the media world. Obviously, a lot of people will question Jogi Löw, but a lot of people also will question the chemistry of this team. What about certain players? As Stevie mentioned, in the middle of the park, Toni Kroos plays for Real Madrid and he's such an outstanding player, but he was unexisting today. So was the same with Gündogan, who plays for Man City. Big clubs, they have enough personality to take things in their own hands, and guide a team especially when things go wrong. So this is a very, very dramatic situation for Germany, and there will be a lot to be discussed the next couple of days, weeks, months for Germany.
Craig, we were surprised, weren't they, when they got knocked out in the group stages of the World Cup 2 years ago. We thought, well, that's it, Jogi Löw is going to walk. That'll be the end of his tenure. Obviously, he stayed. You feel now, surely, he's used up his last life.
Well, he's going to go to the Euros with, I would imagine.
Really? Even after that, you kind of feel you've got some months now to work if it's a new coach coming in?
Well, there's going to be a big dust storm in Germany, as Jurgen said, but I don't think they'll cut him just yet. I mean, there'll be a lot of calls for him to be cut from his job, but he just signed that contract before the last championship, and that's why they decided. I believe that's why they decided just to keep going and bring in some fresh faces. The irony is that the three players that he basically retired, and Boateng, Muller and Hummels, were at the time not playing particularly well, and they've actually had a resurgence in their careers. Dortmund have had a steadfast start to the season defensively. Boateng's been playing better for Bayern, and since Hansi Flick came in, Muller's been back to his old best. So I didn't like the way they went about it. If he went down to those players and said, listen, I'm making some changes, there's a transition within this team to younger players, but I would really like to keep you involved, but I can't guarantee you're going to play, but if I need you, will you help me out? I think that's a better policy than going to them and saying, you're out, right? I don't need you anymore, you're out. Now, if it's the latter way that he did it, if he has to go back to those players, if it was me, I'd say, get lost, because he really threw them under the bus. And so it depends what his management was, and Oliver Bierhoff, when they spoke to these players, in terms of letting them know that they weren't going to be needed for the national team. But quite clearly, they have some problems going into this tournament. Big problems. But it's ironic that the three players that he basically retired have all been playing particularly well of late.
Jurgen, from your understanding, if he went back and said to these players, I made a mistake, or would you like back in, would they be willing to return to international football with him still in charge?
Oh, I definitely think they would be willing. I mean, who's not willing to play for his own country? You know, I mean, and also we don't really know how they left it. You know, how Yogi left it with those 3 players privately. So they had these discussions privately. So the media doesn't really know how the situation is right now. I think if Yogi decides to give them a call or meet them for a coffee, I see there are no problem at all. But I see a problem right now, just from the outside looking in, and obviously watching a game like this today, is the chemistry of the group, is the chemistry, as we said, you can lose a game and you can maybe lose 2 or 3-0, but you cannot lose 6-0 because you never accepted the one-on-one challenges, you never accepted the battles, at set pieces. The way they got conceded 2 goals there on set pieces is unacceptable. So there are other problems than just, if you should call back these 3 players or not. I mean, having a Thomas Müller obviously in the shape he is right now, or since a year, he's playing unbelievable well for Bayern Munich and won the Champions League and did all these things. There's nothing wrong with him, coming back. But I think it's an overall question is, what's going on on the inside of this team, because they were not helping each other, they were not backing up each other, no matter who is playing. So they made it far too easy for Spain, and so there are so many issues right now laying on the table that there's a lot of work for them to do over the next couple of months.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.